Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate the patience as Saturday's session was canceled. I'd had probably over 55 hours of meetings and I was physically unable. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I wanted to make sure I was at my top of my game whenever we have these together. So thank you guys for being here for another great Bright Investor office hours. As usual, this is the time to ask questions, have deals reviewed, analyze markets, and talk about what's coming to Bright Investor. I will start off with a couple of updates for you all for what we're doing here at BI. First and foremost, we do have those upgrades coming out. They are taking longer than I want them to, but that is the reality of building software, unfortunately. Some of the things I can tell you that are already done are a new calculator is being pushed. We have already upgraded the system to now show photos of the properties when you're on the sidebar, when you're searching for properties, you can now see them. We have the new videos up, the flood zone drop down. You can now search for portfolio sizes, the minimum equity, assumable loans. We added, if a property is listed on the MLS, you can now see the property's description. All these things will be pushed to the live version very soon. But some of the other upgrades we're still working through. They take a lot of time to build. So those things are still coming through. You'll get some emails about them as well. Um, let's see what else is going on here. We will be having a webinar at some point in March once the next couple of versions are released as a celebration of our second year in business sometime in March. So we'll be celebrating that. We'll be doing a webinar release to discuss the other things that are all coming out. And basically that webinar will be a large, here's everything new, plus some special surprises that we'll be releasing as well. So keep your eyes out for that. Additionally, we will be sending out some more videos with you guys. So the new educational content we've been recording, you'll all get emails about that relatively soon here. And I think that's all I have for announcements right now. I'll also point out that I've had some BrightInvestor users who are going to real estate meetups, speaking events, or conferences who have asked me to come speak virtually at those events. So if you are someone who has a group or a community or a conference or a membership you're part of or something where you think that other people could benefit from BrightInvestor and you'd like to have me come speak or talk about what BrightInvestor can do to that group of people, I'm more than happy to do that for you guys. Just go ahead and shoot me an email and happy to help you get that set up and do a presentation. We're always looking for ways to help spread the word about what BrightInvestor can do. So anything that helps us, it helps you, always open to it. With those announcements of things you can expect coming out here soon, I believe I can open the floor up for questions and we are good to go. So Chester, yeah, I know you guys just got back from one rental at a time. How did it go?
Yeah, it was pretty good. We had a pretty good lineup of speakers. A lot of folks who were getting their very first rentals to doing all kinds of crazy stuff like land deals and massive portfolios and apartment purchases, stuff like that. So very eclectic mix of investors that were on hand. So, unfortunately, didn't see you there this year, but we are getting confirmation that there will be a one rental at a time season 3 or version 3 next President's Day.
There you go. Perfect. Love to hear it. Ideally, I can make it out there next year. I know this year I had some things going on. I'm actually on the road right now. I'm not in St. Louis. So happy to hopefully get out there next time and come see the groups. I know a lot of folks are out there like Marco Shiro and
Yep.
a lot of folks here in the BrightInvestor community as well.
Yeah, and then also I did see the couple of emails. I don't know if that was. It didn't sound like that was going to be part of the release yet, but I didn't want to spoil it. But I did see that you did make the connection with the. I don't want to spoil it, but I did see those emails back and forth.
Oh, yes. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. No, what you're talking about. Thank you for the introduction there too. I appreciate it. So we'll keep that post and see if a collaboration opportunity does arise.
Awesome. Cool.
Absolutely. All righty. So as usual, guys, gonna go ahead and open up the floor for BrightInvestor office hours. Again, any questions you have about a deal you're looking at, using the platform better, any questions on tips and tricks or market research, happy to go ahead and open the floor up for those questions as well and see if I can help.
Could you talk, this is Paulina, could you
Hey,
talk
Paulina.
about like how did you transition from your like maybe single home or a smaller deal into a bigger deal? How did you make that happen? And how was
Yeah.
your process, if it's okay, if you don't mind?
Yeah, absolutely. So the kind of talking about commercial real estate and folks are going from those kind of one to four unit deals, the four units to the four plus unit space. For those who aren't familiar, right, 4 units is the cutoff for commercial real estate. A lot of the things are the same until you get up to about like 30 or 40 units. That's kind of when the game starts changing. But my first deal was a remote wholesale that I did. The second deal was a 4 unit building. My third deal was a 172 unit building, $16 million acquisition in Texas. So I did not go the slow and steady route over time. The most critical jump to going to that direction and going and graduating into the commercial real estate world is building the right team around you. Oftentimes that relies around getting the right debt people on your team, people who can give you the right loans. That involves networking with people who can give you the right insurance, getting the right people who can support you on the contracting and the inspection side, getting the right property manager in place, and getting the right capital partners and operations partners on the same team. So when it comes to the people in place that you need to have, it's very, very similar to the residential space. It's just what their experience is. So in going the commercial route, one of the first things that you have to do is understand where your strengths lie and what part of the process, whether that's acquisitions, capital raising, or asset management, do you have an affinity for? And once you have one of those specific channels identified that you have strength in, we need to start building a team of people around you that have the capacity to support you in those ways. So, for example, I got started in commercial real estate because when I was a senior in college, I, like an idiot, found a 96 unit building that was being offered for $3 million in St. Louis, Missouri. I had two people working with me, and I made an offer on this building from across the US, in the news, and they accepted my offer. So, my spring break of my senior year of college, I had an offer accepted on a 96 unit building, and I graduated college in Idaho on like a Friday. I spent the weekend driving back to Iowa, and I got home like at midnight. And once I was back at midnight on uh, you know, back in Iowa, 4 a.m. the next morning, I drove to St. Louis to meet the contractors I had hired remotely to go inspect the building. And when I showed up to that building, it was a war zone. It was horrible. Oh my gosh, it was disgusting. I mean, I'm watching drug deals happen in front of me. I'm watching it's not good. So getting there, I had my team who'd flown in from Colorado. I had contractors there. We do the inspection. They give me the report. I meet with the owner and they tell me that, hey, this is the property. And I say, this is not what we negotiated. I try to negotiate with them on price. They're not budging. And we had to walk away from the deal and we broke it up. So I lost a couple $1,000s in inspections. Side note, that property is still for sale 5 years later. So I made a good call leaving that one. And it was through that experience that when someone else reached out to me and said, Donato, I want to go do multifamily. I know you have some experience in this avenue, and I want to join this mentorship program. Will you do it with me? I said yes. And I took that offer and I helped this person build the team. And all we did was find deals. We found deals, we did the acquisition work, we did the market research, we did the deal analysis. And then we found people who said, who has money and who has experience but doesn't want to do the acquisition work. We partnered with those people and we figured out how we could best complement each other's skill sets. And so those people were willing to help us buy that first 172 unit when we identified. So the concept is the same. The work is the same. And that is literally when BrightInvestor was formed. because I was talking to people about what is it that you guys don't want to do? And they said, I don't want to have to analyze deals, I don't want to find them, I don't want to do the market research. And I said, great, I can do that. And I tried to do that myself, and it was so slow and so many softwares and so many websites. I'm like, there has to be a better way. So I created BrightInvestor alongside my team, not just me. I'm one. It's a whole team of people here, but that's where this came from. To answer your question?
Yeah. Mhm.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Donato, did you work in the aerospace at all, or you just was doing real estate and you have your education there?
I worked I worked at the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency as a geospatial analyst as a part of our Department of Defense intelligence community. So that's a fancy way for saying I looked at maps and told people where to drop bombs.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I did. There's other parts about the job too, but basically, when I graduated college, I moved to St. Louis, and I within July, August, September of 2021, in that 3 month period, I moved to St. Louis, bought a fourplex, formed a multifamily team, started working for the Department of Defense by day, and then built a commercial multifamily team. And that all started in that same 3 month period in 2021. So I was doing all of it at the same time.
You're a workaholic.
I am a glutton for punishment. You know what, free
Aren't
time
we
and
all?
leisure. Oh, absolutely. I got to get out there and crush it. So I decided, time to go out there and make it happen. So that's what it was for about 3 years there. Just get to work at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., go to bed at 1 a.m. And then I tell people all the time, I had a better hairline when I started BrightInvestor. I was young and handsome, and now that's all going away.
Well, we appreciate your hard work, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Absolutely. One thing I can also point out on BrightInvestor side, for our lenders in the building today, we are releasing a debt service coverage ratio calculator, a DSCR calculator specifically. Joe, my man, I'm looking right at you. We have been doing some beta tests with lenders, and we are building it. So, speaking to you specifically here, you will have access to be able to inject the property's analytics, and it will tell you the interest only payment plus DSCR, the PITIA payment and DSCR, and the principal and interest payment and its relative DSCR, allowing you to put in the specifics you need for a DSCR loan. So we're custom building that for you as a lender in that space. So hopefully when that drops here in the next couple of days, you'll be able to get on there and start playing with it and check it out. Oh, sorry, you're muted right now.
So that's awesome. I actually looked into I've been looking at property for my, it's going to be an investment property, but I'm going to put a long-term lease in there. My
Yep.
niece from down south. So tell me if I'm looking at this right. Not always do we have to have a plus number there if we are covering kind of all the bases as far as cap cost and EX and if obviously if we're gonna have a long-term rental and someone obviously going to keep the house for a long time, we can kind of do away with the vacancy number to kind of also
Yes.
ease off that number. So what do you look at in a property when you're looking at, if you're looking at a single family home, what are you looking at kind of as a reasonable return on investment?
Yeah, so when it comes
doing a DSCR type loan, I'm doing a DSCR type loan.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. So basically what I'm looking for is if I'm doing any type of rental, I want at least a 7 to 10% cash on cash return. That's a primary metric I'm looking for when it comes to a property. Now, one of the reasons we include the appreciation data in there is if we can find a property in a zip code where the appreciation is going up by at least that 2 to 5% per year over the past 5 years, I know that we're looking at double digit or potentially triple digit gains and when it comes to home value over time. So that's how I kind of account for long-term equity in the area and in my ability to appreciate. from a return perspective on the deal analyzer, I almost always will set the CapEx, vacancy, and repairs and maintenance to 0, simply to showcase that that money is not what we're actually spending every month. Most real estate investors and landlords will tell you that most of the time you're spending nothing on those things until it all happens in one point in time. We're like, oh my gosh, a big repair happens and a vacancy happens. So by setting repairs, CapEx, and vacancy to 0, we get a better idea of what your true cash flow is on a monthly basis. Because that 5% number is money you're holding back, not money you're spending. So if you want to get a better idea of what your gross cash flow is going to be on a monthly basis, set those to 0. And so if you're like Chester, who has a significant amount of reserves in his own bank account right now, he'll set those numbers to 0 because he knows he can cover any major CapEx. So
Now,
at
now,
that, go ahead.
Donato, what I want to ask is so I mean, uh, what? So if you had and I know you wouldn't want obviously a whole portfolio of these, but if you had a property that was just breaking even on the rent against the PIT payment and everything else, and with some of the cap costs built in even, or some of the appreciation, all those things
Sure.
cut in, aren't you really, because of appreciation, because every month they're paying down the principal, aren't you gaining money even at break
Absolutely.
even?
Absolutely you are. So here's a great example. On a $300,000 home, you should expect on, say, today's interest rates relatively, on a $300,000 home, every single year, you're going to pay down that interest by that loan by about $6,000 per year at first, in the first few years. So you're going to make at least $6,000 a year when it comes to debt pay down. At the same time, you should expect to write off approximately $9,500 to $10,000 per year in depreciation due to that property. So if your property is breaking even on a cash flow perspective, you are making at least $6,000 a year on your debt pay down. You are making at least $10,000 in tax write-offs. And if you are using the appreciation appropriately and you're in areas appreciating by 2 to 5% per year on a
Yeah, because
$300,000 home, you're making $10,000 to $15,000 in equity as well.
because my flow through. So I'm a 1099. My wife is W-2, so she has that.
Yep.
She has obviously tax liability. I was able to write down through my entire income and $13,000 in her income just on one property. With two, I'm obviously going to be able to accelerate that process.
Yes.
Even at a minimal gain, $100, $200 gain on the calculator with everything in there, that's still over long-term and strategy and overall income, because I still am working obviously at something else and making money
Yep.
elsewhere. That's still a property that's still has value to it.
Absolutely. And it's all about where you're coming at. Some people say, I have people who say, Donato, I don't care how much money I make on the monthly property, I need a huge tax write-off. And so they're buying properties in cash to be able to write these things off.
So we
I have
owned
folks who say,
43 at one point. We kept two out that were well
Yep.
underwater from 08 that were just huge losers, and we wrote a lot of the property off
exactly.
In that kind of strategy. We had a couple pretty vast losers that bad depreciation took a big hit from the 08. I had them before 08. They're probably both 75,000 at least in the hole a piece.
Wow. Okay.
But the other 43 properties, obviously, my partner we were paying all cash, so
there's no debt against it. Okay, that's not bad. It's not a bad situation.
So it's a different.
And so, yeah. So for a situation like yourself, where I think you said your niece is going to rent it from you, if you can buy a property, break even with a tenant like, and trust, and you're earning income from a different perspective, and the property's a lot of the value for you is in loan pay down, long-term appreciation, and your equity building, go for it. It sounds like for your type of goals, that makes a lot of sense. I really, really advocate for people is if you can at least get a property that at least breaks even, then there's other benefits start making sense. I just try to avoid situations where on a long-term rental, you're paying out of pocket every month to support it. If it can at least sustain itself, I think there's a really solid argument to be made for the other benefits of real estate to be paid for your specific case. Absolutely. So if you have that property that's like that, I think it's worth going after for the right price, of course.
Yeah, that's the other thing. He's lost his mind a little bit on the price. And it's I mean, so the two bullets I've got my gun to shoot him in the face with are one, it's a sinkhole remediation. It's been remediated, but they're trying to say it doesn't decrease in value. My personal home is a sinkhole remediation for like 100,000 that the
Okay.
previous guy did, and it definitely has come up in conversation about like property value for me. So I'm like, yeah, that's at least a 10% hit overall on the property, just that. And there's some other things that are gonna hit, but he's been on the market 143 days at the price point he's at now. He's obviously at the wrong price point, and she reduced it $3,000, thinking she was going to get moving on $3,000. I'm going to hit her in the eye. It's 265 property, 3.2, like 1,200 square.
Okay.
Guy just redid it for his wife, and his wife passed. Wants out of the house.
Oh, geez.
And but I'm going to hit him, and I'm going to hit him with reality at about 240.
Not bad at all. Are you kidding me? Buddy, you drill, baby, drill. You send that price down. Are
Well,
you kidding me?
let
Oh
me
my
let me
gosh.
let me add the 6% concessions I want to cover to make my REIT real low. So yeah, so I'm going to hit him with a $25,000, $26,000 haircut and 6%.
There you go. I said, for one, you said that have you checked the days on market for that zip code in BrightInvestor?
No, I
You
didn't do
should.
that.
You should. Because if you can come to them and say, hey, your property's been on market for 143 days and the average days on market is 62, we have a problem here. Hey, the number of new
Show me
listings
how
in
to
this
do
area.
that on the website. I mean, on the BrightInvestor.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what you have right now. Let me go and pull this up.
Okay, I have a question for Joe.
Yes.
Joe, sinkhole remediation? There was a sinkhole?
So in Florida, this is a little bit of a reality for us here. We're on limestone,
Right.
the whole state, right? So along the coast, and I live up in this Spring Hill area, right on the coast near Hudson, Spring Hill, that area, where we have all kinds of springs and stuff. So we have a lot of underground water. So it eats away at that limestone, and then we have a sinkhole.
Okay.
So what they do in a sinkhole remediation is when they see any signs of that, they do tests, and if they find that it's a probable sinkhole, they do a sinkhole remediation. And basically what they do is, Richard, if you could have X-ray vision through the ground, basically what it is the house is on stilts all the way to the bedrock.
Okay.
They put pillars down in, and they call it underpinning. They underpin
Right.
the house to where it's anchored to the bedrock. So worst case scenario, if there are any ground settling, it would be around the house, not the actual foundation of the house.
Okay.
And
So you get
my
extra
house
basement.
never had a problem, but the guy who built my house, my personal home, did that for a living. So he fought the insurance for like 2 years, and finally they paid like $100,000 to have my house completely underpinned.
Wow.
So the joke is the worst case scenario I could have is I'll have a moat.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Where are you in
Sorry
relation
about that.
to Fort Myers or Naples?
About 2 hours north.
Okay.
So, Joe, for example, let's say you're in Spring Hill and this is where your property's at, right?
Yeah, it
All
is.
I'm doing, okay, so all I'm doing is I look up Spring Hill and I click days on market.
Okay.
And when you
That's
click
crazy.
days on market and we look for, instead of the whole city, we can just do this one zip code
Uh-huh.
and generate map. This is going to show us how long properties have been taking to transact for the last several years, almost decade, month by month. And when we look at this, right now, right, at the fastest, homes were selling in 14 days in 2021. And then they skyrocketed up to about 70 days. And as of January, the median days on market for a home in this area is 70, which means this guy's house at 143 days has been on the market twice as long as the median. You bring this right to and that's why we have it on the Bright report for the properties.
Well,
When you scroll
I
down,
actually have the Bright report printed out, ready to go for the offer.
perfect. There you go. So like you point at that and say, hello,
And I also
143.
looked at the comps, and any ones that looked like much bigger, much lower, I downed out, and I dummied it down to like 248, and then I'm gonna hit them
Exactly.
with sinkhole remediation, and I'm gonna hit them
Absolutely.
with the backyard, then I'm gonna hit them with the 6% concessions. So the realtor thinks I'm a little aggressive, but she's gonna get the offer tomorrow, and she's gonna go yay or nay. But I'm really not prepared to come up much from that.
Well, you can tell her, hey, this isn't a situation of 240 or 260. This is a situation of do you want a commission or not? Because you're
Right.
not getting right. The way you're going right now, there's no commission coming your way. You work with me, I'm going to get you paid.
Right.
And when it comes to the market, right, I can tell you this property.
And I know the mortgage guy's really good. He has 100% close ratio. So this is definitely going through.
Yeah, here we go. It's always nice when you have a good debt guy. Absolutely. And so when I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, great. I can check the home prices in this area for appreciation, right? I might as well if I'm going to be here to see what's going on.
Right.
See how the area's been performing. I don't know. Find out. Let's see what's going on. So yeah, absolutely. I'd be using that for the information because I really I don't track home price. I don't care what the property is listed for. I care where it makes sense. If you list it for 200 and it makes sense at 100, guess what I'm offering? 100. Like, I don't care. This is where it makes sense for me. And so I think about it like this. Why would I offer someone a number that doesn't work for me and doesn't work for them?
Right.
Like, hey, okay, I want 100, you want 200. Why would I offer you 150? We're both pissed off. I'm going to offer you what it makes sense for me, and then you can either meet me or we can negotiate different terms and concessions and credits to where it makes sense for both of us. But you can also see here, right, when it comes to home prices have been relatively flat here for almost 2 years straight. There's been no upward movement. So if these guys are pricing above the area, absolutely not. You do what you have to do.
And can you see the average price in the area for the size house?
Yeah, so yeah, look at the median house price in that area based on appreciation is about $400,000 right now. It's a median home price for the area across all the different properties that are in that zip code.
Yeah,
Now
but
you
that
pulled up
zip code,
comps.
yeah, but that zip code includes waterfront property.
Yeah, and so that's why you pulled up comps and you pulled up property specific comps. You're like, hey, you're at 240. And so when I use that information, I'm saying, hey, look, home prices have been flat forever, 2 years, right? I have comps here that show me 240. I have your days on market is twice what the average is here, right? I have all this data showing me that this is if you want, and I know where I'm coming in at. This is what makes sense for us. If you use that, you use it to your advantage. That's part of the reason we have BrightInvestor. So everyone in here can be an absolute animal when it comes to negotiations. Like you know exactly what's going on in your area. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If they want to make a deal with you, they're going to talk with an expert about it, and that's what everyone in here is, an expert. You can see I'm a fierce advocate for everyone here when it comes to buying. You go crazy. You do whatever you need to do to go get that deal done. Absolutely. All right. And I've got Chester, that's disrespectful offer time. Absolutely. Absolutely. I've got a question from Angelique as well. Oh, go ahead, Joe.
No, I was laughing at the comment.
Okay. Yeah. Angelique, I got a question from you. You have a apartment complex that you're looking to make an offer on, if I'm not mistaken. And you want to know how to come up with a creative offer that doesn't involve you putting money down in a $1.2 million complex. You just need some work and the rents need to be raised. This is an okay question. Yeah, absolutely. It's an okay question. No problem. You want to unmute yourself and tell me a little about your situation.
Yeah, so it's close by. It's been on market. He's dropped it, I think, 3 times. I have the address, but I really want to just come up with something to give him like an offer. But the address is 15 Royale Avenue, Royale Avenue in Lakeport, California.
Royale with cheese. Absolutely. All right,
Royale
perfect.
Avenue.
Royale, yeah. It's a little Pulp Fiction right there. A little Royale. Jeez. Perfect. All right. So got in a apartment complex. What's the story here? Guys dropped it 3 times. What do you know about it so far?
Just that it needs some work. As people are moving out, it needs some work. So they've been, as the lease is up, people move out, they work on it, and then trying to raise the rents when they bring in new people. It's 90% occupied, so it is in a
Right.
better area for where I live. I'm in a rural area, and it is in one of the busier, bigger areas.
Okay.
And the owners are located a couple hours away, and they really want
Okay.
to get out of it. And he said
Okay.
he's like fine with seller finances or some creative offer, so he wants some offers.
Okay. This is great. Again, right? Motivated seller. Someone who
Mhm.
needs to sell it, therefore creative terms come around. So let me ask you this question. What is he asking for it?
It is, I think it was 1.2, yeah, 1,150,000. It's almost 1.2.
And how many units is it?
It was 20. Sorry, I already forgot. I had a baby in here and he distracted me like majorly. It's
Right.
a 12-unit apartment building, a mix
Okay.
2 and 3 bedroom units. And it's 90%
Oh.
occupied. But they're
Oh.
expected to fill it this week, the last one.
Okay. This just got serious. Okay. Okay. Great. For a second, when you said 20 units, for a second there, I was going to say, stop what you're doing, offer him whatever price he wants. This is okay.
Yeah, I know, I know. I
That
was thinking of another
oh
one. There's another
oh my
24
gosh.
unit, but
Okay. Okay, so let's break this down. So for the folks who've been here before, my general rule of thumb is I want to buy properties for 60 to $80,000 per door if I can rent them out for at least $1,000 a unit. That's my sweet spot is in the residential side at a minimum. If he's asking for 1.2 million on a 12-unit building, that means he's asking for $100,000 per door. And you're telling me that this is in Southern California and they're all 2 bedroom and 3 bedroom rents
2 and 3
units.
bedrooms, but we're in Northern California.
Okay, 2 bedroom and 3 bedroom properties, rents, units. Jeez, I can't talk today. 2 and 3 bedroom units. Okay, yeah, this thing has potential. Let's talk about it. So
Okay.
the first thing we're gonna have to look at is oh wow, it's a lakefront too. Oh wow. It is lakefront property. That's really cool. Wow. You're on the water. Oh my gosh, you're like on the water here. That's amazing. Okay, so first off, I'm gonna take a little walk. Is this a mobile home park? Yes, it
I'm
is.
sure it is. There's a lot. Yeah,
Yep.
there's a lot around that
Okay.
area.
Okay, so mobile home park right here next to the property. And the property itself, if we take a look at it, single family houses right next to it. And here's our complex. Landscaping is decent. Nude beach. Okay, there you go. You know what? You teach their own. Have your fun. Okay, I see window AC units, which is the first thing we need to be cognizant of if they have central HVAC or if there are going to be AC units on the grounds. I don't see parking right now. We want to know if it's all on-street parking or off-street parking, so you can charge for that. I don't see off-street parking right now. You go ahead and check this area. Oh, there. Wait, is that it right there? There it is. Yep. Hold on. There's your parking. So it does have its own parking pad, covered parking as well. That's awesome. That is huge. Okay, I'm really liking this for you. So what I want to do first when it comes to this area is I want to understand the asset type specifically. So if we're going to be in this area, is it a common area for 12-unit buildings to be? No. 0.4% of the housing market in this area are 10 to 12-unit buildings. You would be buying one of the only properties of this type in this entire zip code. In fact, though, to your point, almost 22% of the market are mobile home rentals. Huge, huge mobile home population. So the next thing I want to look at very quickly is the income. If there's a lot of mobile homes, generally that lower income area overall, median household income here is just about 66,000, but it's up about 45% over the past 5 years. So on average, people can afford here about 1,700 bucks a month in rent affordably, right? That's easily affordable to people for the rents there. One thing you'll have to do is look at the rents for the mobile home park specifically nearby, but just to see what they are running for. And the next thing I'm going to take a look at is how 2 bedrooms have been performing here. So if you have a 2 bedroom property in this area, how have rents been performing? I don't have data for the 2 bedrooms. How about threes? Do I have that? I do. Okay, in this zip code, 3 bedroom properties are renting for an average of $2,200 a month, up about 46%. Now they've fallen from their peak of 2,500. I want to point this out to you. Right now, rents for a 3 bedroom are the same in February 2025 as they were in February 2024. So technically, rents are flat from last year, and that's the same just about as the rents from a year ago previously. So we're having a lot of intra-year increases and decreases, but if we go back about 4 years, they're peaking at about 2,200 every year. So when it comes to rent growth, we want to make sure that we're not projecting to be able to boost these rents consistently based off our max or being able to go above 2,200 for an average 2 bedroom here. So the next thing I'm going to do is we'll pull some rent comps for that property specifically when it comes to twos and threes. Next, we need to check out the rent to own population. Because we have mobile home park owners, this could be very skewed. We're about a decade ago, we were 37% rentership. Now we're at 43% rentership. So my rule of thumb is 30 to 40% of the population should be renters to have enough supply but enough demand to kind of capture that. So we're just teetering on the side of like a larger than we want renter population for being here. But this might just be that kind of community based off mobile home parks and other things that we're seeing here. So still a strong rental demand. It's getting a little bit out of my comfort zone, but not too far. The next thing I want to take a look at is home prices. Now, being a commercial building, you're not going to be valued the way the normal properties are on comps. You're going to be valued on the cap rate or NOI formula. So what we want to see here, though, is over time, is this market attracting higher and higher property valuations? Okay, a lot of volatility here. During 2020, 2021, huge gains in appreciation followed by massive pullbacks. We had it where we went from $600,000 to a low of $380,000. Since then, we've seen some increases and some gains, but a bit more volatile when it comes to home prices. So this is an area where we're technically appreciating only a 1% per year. So we're not appreciating very consistently. So for you, I wouldn't necessarily be counting on the market to be propping up your rent or propping up your home property value into the future. So that all that means is that we need to buy this property at a price that makes sense for now with rents that cash flow you now, because the market in this area isn't growing at a rate that I would like fast enough when it comes to home prices and when it comes to the rent growth, but the income growth is pretty solid. So going in here, that's just the acknowledgement we have to make. It's probably wise to drop the price 3 times. So let's talk about the deal itself. Okay, so I got my properties here. Okay, got my photos. This is great. I can see it all. I can also see they own multiple properties. So here's their portfolio. They have a triplex. They have a couple different things. They got a whole portfolio here. Now, this is a 12 unit. I can see it's absentee owned. They own it free and clear, all these different pieces. What we want to start doing is running the numbers on this. So do you know how many 2 bedrooms and how many 3 bedrooms it has?
Let me see if he sent that to me. He was going to send me the rent roll tonight as well, and I haven't seen that come through yet. But let me see if what he did send me has. It says a mixture of 2 or 3. No, it doesn't tell me the mix.
Okay.
It just tells me 2 and 3.
Okay, so I'm not seeing a ton of rentals in the area here, but the ones that are here are right on the other side of the map, are between about 1,400 to 950. So pretty big discrepancy in what they're getting here when it comes to square footage. So about 1,400 for a 2 bedroom, and a 3 bedroom is averaging right around. Again, very few rentals, very few properties for rent in this area, which is crazy. Okay, very few here. So we're looking at about 1,100 to 1,400 in that range, what we're seeing here. So here's what we're going to do. If we assume an average of $1,200 per unit in gross rent for 12 units together, $1,200 in rent times approximately 12 units should give me a nice little $14,000, $14,400 in gross income. So 14400 there. What we don't want to do is make you spend a ton of cash on a down payment. So, do you live in this area? Or would you be hiring a property manager?
I live close enough, and I have my son does a lot of work on my properties, and my daughter helps as well, and my husband. So I wouldn't need to hire anybody.
Okay. You want to pay yourself? Okay. What we could do is factor in a property management fee as like you're setting that aside to pay your son or your daughter, or
Oh, we could do that.
we just
Yeah, we could do that.
okay, great. So the property is a little bit older, 1972 vintage. So I want to keep the repairs, vacancy, and capex where they're. We don't want to cut that down right now because I'm expecting you're going to have some decent capex here. Now, the other thing that we want to look at when it comes to this property is the fact that the rehab is going to be significant. So you said you already did some rehab estimates, correct?
He said he did some as people are moving out, but he didn't say how much yet.
Okay, so I generally expect on a good apartment, that what that term is make ready or turnover. So they call it heavy turns, where when they somebody moved out, they turned over a unit, they are just spending a lot of time, like a little bit extra money to renovate them. I don't know the quality of these units, so I'm going to estimate about $3,000 to $5,000 per unit in renovations for at least a touch up for the rents. I also don't know the rent roll, so I don't know what the current people are paying for rents itself. But if we assume $3,000 per unit in capex costs plus the discrepancy, I'm going to put in $50,000 in pre-rent rehab as far as what we're going to have to do here. So he's open to seller finance. Now we can just start making the numbers work for you. For example, we're going to have our closing costs. We're going to have our insurance. I'm going to boost it up a little bit just to be a little more conservative. And at $1.2 million, 20% down, with this rehab, you're coming out 300 grand. You're going to cash flow 2K a month with a decent cash on cash, but a not very good cap rate. So what I'm going to recommend is we just start playing around with this until we get somewhere that you like. So if we do, say, a 0% down, which I don't know if you'll accept or not, but we can always check it out. If we do a 5% down, and instead of 6.8% interest rate, we do a 4.5%. That is pretty attractive to me. You're
Yeah,
buying
that's a huge.
that's not bad. Now, what I'd also
Yeah.
do, because like I said earlier, be vicious. Why not? Go crazy. I don't like that cap rate. That cap rate's pretty small for this kind of 12-unit building. But our cash on cash here is fantastic. And this property here is probably going to be something you're holding for a long time for your family. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So when I'm looking at this, if you were to offer him $1 million with a 5% down payment, he carries back 95% at a 4.5% interest rate with a 30-year loan and a 30-year amortization. Let's say and if he's willing to do it, like a 30-year loan, that'd be great. Otherwise, we need to factor in a approximately 15-year balloon. And here's the hard part. When it comes to seller finance, I tell people this all the time. You need to have as long of a balloon as possible because you need as much time to increase the value of your property as possible so that when you go to the bank to increase the valuation, you can pull out enough cash to pay out your original investor or your original loan holder. We already saw that the rents aren't growing here very quickly. We already saw that the depreciation is really volatile. So the likelihood that the market will grow at a rate where your appreciation is so high that in 5 or 10 years you'll be able to refinance out at a higher limit and pay out your investor or pay out your seller here is low. So we need to get a screaming deal on the purchase price here because the likelihood of you being able to refinance based off market conditions is low. The only way you're going to be able to get this thing to refinance at like the 70% LTV a lender is going to be able to do for you is if you increase the value by raising rents fast enough, which we know is not happening at least right now, or enough time has passes that natural rent growth has come through and you're able to get that at a cheaper rate. So all that considered, I would prefer you to put down like 10% on this. That is coming from me saying the market is not necessarily in your favor when it comes to increasing property value. You're already buying this at a relatively lower cap rate. You have your expense ratio at 74%, it's a little high, but The only thing that's going to help you in this situation is that you need to pay down that loan from 90% to 70% within a 15-year time period if he gives you a 15-year balloon. You need to do that. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to refi. So
Okay.
this situation is I would come to him and say, hey, look, I'll buy it off you for $1 million. What did he originally list it for? Do you know?
I could look on Zillow. It's actually still listed.
Oh, is it?
I can't remember.
Pull it
Yeah,
up
it's
myself.
on Zillow. You could see the
Pull it up.
history of it going down.
Yeah, let's pull it up myself. Yep. Right here. I love that's why you link directly to it. Yeah. 1375. Oh yeah, that's not much at all. Okay. So for guys, by the way, the update we're making to BrightInvestor, you see this description. This is coming to BrightInvestor. So any property that's listed on market, you'll be able to actually read the property description inside the app. That's one of the things that we built. So when we look at this, right, we come back into BI. I'm going to set my vacancy at 10% actually, because he's at 10%. And I'm going to boost my CapEx a little bit. And do 4% interest rate. Yeah. So in this situation, if you buy it off him for $1 million, 10% down, and you do a 30-year amortization with a 15-year balloon at 4% interest rate, you're going to have to bring $50,000 in upfront rehab, and you plan to have a 10% management fee, 7% for repairs, 10% for vacancy, and 7% for CapEx, factoring in your $11,000 a year in taxes, $6,000 a year in insurance, mortgage, water, sewer, trash. You're going to make about $3,200 a month on this deal and about 24% return on your cash. It's a low cap rate, but the only thing that matters to you is being able to get that loan paid down fast enough, which, because you're doing seller finance, we're in Joe can talk about this for long-term loans. Usually when you get a loan, you're paying a lot of the interest up front. And it's not until year 20 or 25 that you really start paying a lot more principal. In this situation, you would need to structure your loan where every single month you are paying enough principal where after 15 years, you are absolutely guaranteed to pay down to 70% LTV, allowing you to go get a commercial loan and refinance out. But you would structure your payments to say, let's say you're paying this guy $4,300 a month. You would look at that and say, okay, great. Here's how much I'm going to be paying you every month. Here's how much of that's going to principal. Here's how much is going to interest. And you negotiate that with him so that by the end of your loan term, ideally you're even at 65% loan to value. So the money you've been paying has been going to principal, not interest, allowing you to make sure you can refinance at a decent rate and you're not going to get screwed. Now, to make you feel even better about yourself, this management fee, repairs, vacancy, and CapEx, if we set all these to zero, let's say you did a great job in this property, you're really cash flowing $8,000 a month. So if you ever needed someone to help you out, you let me know. That's a pretty decent deal, right? Now, that 10% management fee, if we take that out, right, you're at 4,600. But I'm going to buy this deal based on the fact that what if you guys get tired or bored? You don't want to manage it anymore. You have to hire a PM. What if repairs are significant? What if the vacancy does stay at 90%? What if the CapEx does stay significant? We're going to buy this deal.
Go back to the structuring. I'm sorry, I couldn't understand the structure.
Yeah, go ahead.
The structuring of the payments towards principal and interest. You actually would go in and tell them to set so much to principal and only take so much to interest?
Absolutely. When you're negotiating with them on a seller finance deal, I'm not going to say, hey, I'm going to pay you this amount on this loan amortization schedule. I'm going to say, hey, look, I'm going to pay you $4,500 a month at this interest. Over the course of 15 years, I'm going to pay you this much towards the principal, this much is going to the interest. And we sign off on that. And we negotiate that with them. I mean, the only reason that banks front load the interest is because they want to make sure they're protected against, an early sale. In this situation, we're not dealing with an institution; we're dealing with a person. So I'm still paying them the same amount of money over the course of this years. I'm simply allocating the interest and the principal to a ratio where it's less so much in their favor and more equal footing. The only reason I'm doing that is so that, Angelique, you have the opportunity to refinance after 15 years in a way where you can sleep well at night. So I would absolutely do that when I'm negotiating with them. And so in this case, right, you need to pay down approximately 20% of the loan. So that's you have a $900,000 loan. You need to pay down approximately $180,000 of that over 15 years. You take $180,000 in principal pay down that you need to do, divided by 15 years, divided by 12 months. That means you take that. If you pay him $1,000 a month as a part of the mortgage for 15 years straight, you will pay down $180,000 on this loan, which means that you're going to be done that as long as you pay that much towards principal every month, you are going to be in a situation in 15 years where you can hit your refinance. I'm going to pause there, Angelique. I'm coming at you with a lot of information. What questions do you have for me?
I don't, just because I'm new to the whole program too, so kind of following was a lot, just to keep up. I took a couple screenshots, but I don't think I have any questions. But you were saying it goes, if we took out the management fee, 10%, what else?
Yep.
Talking about
Yeah,
if,
so like, yeah,
so
so
if I
if,
didn't have management fees,
yep, then your cash flow goes to 4,600.
30, okay,
And if you, because I say what this repairs and capex does, right, is saying, here's how much money you're holding back from your monthly rents.
right, to cover that stuff.
Yeah, but that's not money you're necessarily spending. You're just squirreling it away in an account.
Okay.
So, for example, you're not really spending 7%. So when I set that to zero, we're seeing what your monthly cash flow technically is before you allocate it to your different, savings accounts.
Okay,
So by setting management, repairs, and capex to zero, you are technically earning $6,600 a month in cash flow, 50% cash on cash return, and almost an 8 cap. And then you just save the money the way you see fit. For me,
Mhm.
that's a screaming deal. I do that deal all day long. It's a great deal.
Got it.
Yeah, and I
Perfect.
apologize, Angelique. I'm sorry, I'm for bouncing around so quick
No,
and
it's
moving
okay.
around.
It's okay. I'll just keep watching these and I'll catch on. And I've been playing with it a little bit myself too, so I'll catch on.
Perfect.
I had
Yeah,
a
Rich.
question. All right, if she's doing a $900,000 loan at 4%, she's going to pay $36,000 a year in interest, correct?
It sounds about right. Yeah, because then
Is
she'll pay approximately $1,000 a month towards principal, yielding about a $48,000 a year loan. And right now,
right,
our mortgage is set at about 4,300, which is going to be approximately $48,000 to $50,000 in a year. So yeah,
right.
that works.
So she'll be paying down almost $500,000 in interest because 36 times 15,
Hmm.
it's $540,000.
Yep. So
Right,
in this situation, she'd be paying that much, and so in interest for the deal. Yeah, so she'd be
right,
paying down $180,000 in equity, other $500,000 in interest. So when she refis out to the guy, she owes him approximately 600 and sorry, 700 $720,000 on her refinance to pay him out. So in total, he will have been paid out 1.4.
You're doing, I'm
Yeah, 1.4 million in total proceeds after 15 years, which Angelique can bring to the seller and say, hey, I'm actually going to pay you more than 1.25 million or 1.2 million. In
right,
fact, I'm going to pay you 1.4. I'm just going to do it over 15 years. And you're going to walk away with $500,000 in interest, and you're going to walk away with, a million, 900,000 or $1,900,000 in principal, and we're going to do great things together.
right.
And
And if she
then
can raise the rent, she can pay off principal even faster.
absolutely, she can. And because we're buying it in such a way on her amortization schedule that by the time 15 years is up, she'll pay down 30% of the loan. And we know that in commercial real estate, we can refinance at 65 to 30, 70% LTV very likely. The chances of her being in a situation where she wouldn't be able to refinance are exceptionally low because we made the right offer at the right price now.
Yeah.
So I think this is a good deal if she can secure it for those terms.
Two other questions. Being that there's not a lot of rentals in the area, that's the
Mhm.
go-to place to rent.
Absolutely. We already saw that the 10 to 19 unit buildings are a very small fraction of this area.
Right,
So if somebody wants a long-term rental and they don't want to be in a mobile home, they kind of got to come to you.
right.
That's dominating the market.
But also with the mobile homes there, technically they're probably not going to change unless somebody starts buying up the land and building
Yeah,
houses,
mobile homes have
multifamily.
very long tenancy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And one thing I'd also point out, Angelique, you saw me get excited about the reserved parking or the covered parking for that property. That's other income. You can charge every person there $15 a month for covered parking or reserved parking if you wanted to. On 12 parking spaces, $15 a month is going to be approximately 12 times 12 is 144, 12 times 3 is 36, is what, $170 a month in income? Just in reserved parking. $170 times 12 is what? Just about $2,000 a year in extra income. That's something we can easily do. So we say, boom, $170 a month in other income.
Yeah.
Done.
Now,
You can get an extra 2K.
who pays the electric and the water?
Right now, this factors in that she's paying water, sewer, and trash, and that they're paying electric and gas.
Okay. Because I was going to say if she had to pay for all the electric, she can go solar. California, man, produce a lot of electricity.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely a possibility. But I mean, at these terms, at this rate, assuming that down payment is doable for you guys, I mean, I think this makes I would do this deal with you. This is something like this is underwritten to where I would feel comfortable doing this. Because at that point, you're paying approximately, what is $1 million divided by 12? 80 grand, 85. You're right around that $80,000, $60 to $80,000 range that I like to recommend. So I think
83.
you have a real 83. So I think you have a
83,
real opportunity here.
333, yeah.
All right. Maybe it has washer and dryer as well, and we can have extra income that way too. Not sure.
Absolutely. If you go
Um,
ahead and now you're gonna have to spend about $1,200 per unit putting in a washer and dryer set. If you do so, you can charge about $60 a month for a washer dryer rental for 12
mhm,
units. That's gonna be 60 times 12 is gonna be $720 a month, which is an annualized income of approximately 9 grand.
mhm. Or if there's one on site,
26,
already.
40. Yeah.
Or quarters. Yeah, if you're doing quarters, like hey, a quarter income as well.
Mhm.
So for me, like at a minimum, you have a situation here where basically long-term rents alone, you guys are going to make your money hand over fist
Okay.
at a good cap rate. This offer, prioritizing you and your family and your needs, this offer puts you in a really good situation.
Okay.
You have other properties too, Angelique?
I have, I do sober living. I have two sober living houses, one men, one women's. And then I own a property in Missouri that I'm flipping. And then I have land here that I'm putting a manufactured home on and we're going to sell that as well. So those are kind of all my projects
Nice.
I have right now.
Nice.
We just started in October, so we're just
Wow.
getting,
Whoa. There you go.
Those sober
Very
houses make
nice.
a lot of money, don't they?
yeah, because we charge per bed and like my men's house has 10 beds in it.
Yep.
And Lake County Probation, our probation department, I have an agreement with them. So they send the people to me.
Yep.
So they're filling the house right now.
And then you have one person managing that in the house, correct?
No, it's a non-licensed facility, so I don't really need somebody there. I could have a house leader. I can appoint
Right.
somebody a house leader, but I don't need, they call me if they need something, but it's pretty easy. They're a bunch of guys in there, so they kind of take care of things themselves.
Yeah, I
Not
looked at
bad.
one out here on Long Island but for the property, the guy wanted way too much money. You know, the
Yeah.
guy who lived there for free, he took care of everybody,
Yeah.
He made sure they stayed straight and whatnot.
We did a
Yeah.
house. We did a house with it was a mother-in-law suite, an addition built on, and an original 2-1 ranch house up front, like ranch style house up front. We flipped a kitchen into the second, into the addition, which was a 1-1. We capped off the mother-in-law suite, which was a full 1-1 with a kitchen. And we rent out the front 2-1 and the 1-1s to traveling medical people
Mhm.
for $1,500 a piece. So we're making $4,000 on about a $2,000 output
Mhm.
on those. And if I had 5 more doors here, I could have literally rented 5 more, 6 more people. We're in line trying to get the 1 units we have because everything here is 55 and over plus. And these are all young professionals, 30, 35-year-old. They're never there. They keep the house nice.
Yeah.
They're just working at the hospitals. We have like 20 hospitals within a 10-mile radius.
Wow. A lot of sick people.
Yeah. Well, not just different types of facilities, and then we take like CT techs, and it's not just nurses.
Yeah. It's like the traveling nurse program. They come
It's
from.
like a traveling nurse program, but we do traveling nurses, but we're getting more of the like radiology techs and CT techs.
Fantastic.
But I wish I
That's
had more
fantastic.
properties like that, because like that was just
Yeah.
perfectly cut up. That it was perfect for what we wanted to do.
I take it was not permitted.
Well, they had just finished up the mother-in-law suite 21, so it was fully permitted. The only thing that really wasn't permitted is we did the inside kitchen.
Right.
We added the kitchen. That was the only thing that really wasn't permitted. Everything else was already done. We just closed off walls and changed interior walls, which didn't need permitting.
Cool. You're up by us, you need permits, but who the hell gets permits? We don't get permits.
Well,
Just do it.
You have to have permits for indoor. Normally, if you don't change any structural walls, that's Florida. If you don't change any structural walls, they don't require permits.
In New York, if you breathe, they require a permit.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we're not licensed. Nexus. So I'm a loan officer for Nexus Mortgage, and we're in 48 of 50 states. And the two states we're not in is one's New York, the other one's Massachusetts.
There you go.
Because New York's
Absolutely.
and I'm from Connecticut, so I mean, I can talk trash about
all day long.
New England.
I would probably try to even do something like that with this place, like try to find an agreement with like behavioral health or probation again and get higher rents and double people up. Because what I do in my sober living is it's two people per bed. So if it's like a 2-bedroom apartment, I could put 4 people in there.
Oh, 2 beds per room. Yeah.
So that's what we're doing here. I could do that as well there. If I
2 people per bed, like is that like on couples or no?
Sorry,
That's,
She
2
gets
people
2
per
singles
room.
in a room.
2 beds per room.
okay. So you
per
could
room.
oh wow. So you have a 10-bed, you have a 10-room property, but it's 20 beds.
Right. It's like
So
student
I could
housing.
I'm just saying like this apartment complex to increase. I could do something like I'm doing here in my town because it's only 40 minutes away from me or 35 minutes away. I would probably look at doing that sort of thing with a 2 and 3 bedrooms because I could put 2 people per bedroom. So that 2-bedroom could become 4 people, could become like $800 per person per month. And I could do that and increase.
What about that lake there? What is that used for? People who use it for boating or?
It's a man-made lake. It's very popular. They have a lot of fishing tournaments here. It's very large. It's like the largest lake.
Can you Airbnb those apartments?
Yeah, we could I don't think they're that nice. I feel like they're not. I'd have to really clean them up and make them
with the
nice.
70s.
Make a couple nice.
There's a lot of lakefront Airbnbs that are really nice, and I know a lot of investors who have those here. So I don't think I could do that in that just because of the the area and the look of the apartment complexes.
Got it.
And that's what we saw. We're looking at the frequency of the property. We saw how few long-term rentals there are, and the fact that the area is growing the way it is growing. You would be a relatively affordable option. You would start capturing the long-term rental market in this area. So, especially when we're seeing the propensity for mobile homes, I think there's a huge opportunity where if you turn every unit from generating $1,200 per month in revenue to $3,200 or $4,000 a month in revenue per unit.
Yeah.
You're making so much money on this property. It's almost a crime. It's fantastic. You've been doing
Even
so great.
half of them. I mean, even if I can get, and a lot of people do, they're coming from that area to my house because of the probation is the county probation. So they're sending them down this way. So they can keep them up there and I can just move them into, I have to furnish it, but that's no big deal when I'm getting that type of rent. So I would furnish a few or maybe 3 to start with or 6 and then grow it like that.
You start with the vacancy. You'd start with the one that's vacant and try it there.
You have to get a permit for something like that down there because the neighbors may not be too happy.
Yeah, that's okay.
Not my backyard.
That's okay. They're fine. And in that area, it'll be fine. Nobody's going to complain there. And especially in that apartment complex. People complain in here where that my house is, but even so, they don't really do anything. They just kind of go, ooh, I have a bunch of convicts across the street. And I'm
Yeah.
like, don't worry, they're cool. If you have any problems, let me know. But probation has a key to get in. So they're there, a couple times a week, which helps with the look, right? So if people know probation is physically on site, then it doesn't look as bad. People feel safer, feel better.
It's a great strategy. It's a
Yeah.
great strategy. Well, Angelique, I want to say welcome to the Bright Investor, of
Thank
course,
you.
office hours, and every Wednesday and Saturday. Love to give you a big welcome here. It sounds like you're doing a lot of really cool stuff in the real estate space. We'd love to see you again at our sessions, and happy to talk with you more about learning Bright Investor, talking about learning more about your deal specifically, as I'm in the commercial space myself.
Yeah.
So please don't be a stranger, and we'll love to see you again soon and talk again soon.
Yeah.
With that, guys, we are at the top of the hour, a little over. So I want to say, everyone, thank you so much for being here and showing up. Appreciate your time. Appreciate the conversation we've had tonight. As always, we'll get this recording out and we'll have our next session on Saturday. And you guys will be getting your emails going out relatively soon regarding any upgrades that we have coming out. Jason, I have my email from you for your deal, by the way. So we will talk soon because we get that property. It's going to cash flow you a couple grand we got to talk about, and we'll keep rocking and rolling as well, guys. So without further ado, I'll see you all on Saturday.
Thank you.
You got it.
Good luck, Angelique.
Absolutely. Good luck. All righty. Bye.